Every parent knows the quiet feeling of watching a child sleep after a long, exhausting day. In those silent moments, as you adjust the blanket and wipe a tiny streak of dirt from a sleeping forehead, a lifetime of hopes, fears, and silent promises passes through your mind. You tell yourself that you will do better tomorrow. You promise to protect them from every painful truth, every hardship, and every cruel turn of the fortune in this world. But as the years roll on, the nature of that protection changes. The physical dangers of childhood fade away, replaced by the far more complex challenges of adult life. It is during this transition that every wise parent carries a heavy chest of lessons that they long to pass down, yet often struggle to put into words. Understanding a parent is not something that happens overnight. It is a slow, gradual opening of the heart that often takes decades to fully unfold. Most children spend their youth viewing their parents through the lens of authority, provider, or referee. They see the rules, the curfews, the gentle corrections, and sometimes the firm boundaries, but they rarely see the human being standing behind those decisions. They do not see the late nights spent balancing the family checkbook under the dim glow of the kitchen light, wondering how to make ends meet without ever letting the children feel the weight of financial anxiety. They do not see the quiet tears shed in the driver's seat of a car after a difficult day at work, wiped away just before walking through the front door with a smile and a warm dinner in hand. The first great truth that wise parents wish their children truly understood is that love is rarely expressed in dramatic, grand gestures. True love lives in the quiet, mundane, and repetitive tasks of everyday life. It is found in the early morning alarm clock set for decades without complaint, the warm home-cooked meals prepared after an exhausting shift, the carefully mended clothes, and the endless hours spent sitting on cold bleachers watching school sports games in the pouring rain. When young people look for love, they often look for passion, poetry, and overwhelming emotional displays. But as you grow older and gather a few gray hairs of your own, you begin to realize that the most profound expression of love is simply showing up, day after day, year after year, through every storm and every quiet season. There is a profound difference between being a perfect parent and being a loving parent. Many adult children look back on their upbringing and focus on the flaws, the mistakes, or the moments where their parents fell short of perfection. What wise parents wish their children knew is that no manual exists for raising a human soul. Every parent is simply a child who grew up, trying their absolute best with the emotional tools, wisdom, and resources they possessed at the time. They are navigating the overwhelming responsibility of guiding another human life, while simultaneously wrestling with their own doubts, past traumas, personal fears, and physical limitations. When you are young, you believe your parents know everything. You think they possess an unwavering confidence and a clear map for every journey. It can be quite a shock to realize, usually when you become a parent yourself, that your mother and father were often learning as they went along, praying they were making the right choices, and secretly fearing that they might fail the people they loved more than life itself. Acknowledging this reality is not a sign of weakness. It is the beginning of true emotional maturity. It allows a child to move past resentment and step into a space of deep empathy and mutual respect. Another deeply held truth that rests on the hearts of older parents is the changing nature of time. When children are young, time seems to stretch endlessly before them. Summer vacations feel like entire lifetimes, and growing up seems to take forever. But from the perspective of a parent, time moves with a frightening, almost tragic speed. One morning you are tying their tiny shoelaces and helping them put on an oversized backpack for their first day of kindergarten, and what feels like the very next afternoon, you are waving goodbye as they drive away to start a life of their own in a distant city. The house that once echoed with loud laughter, running footsteps, spilled juice boxes, and endless questions suddenly grows remarkably quiet. The toys are cleared away, the bedrooms remain untouched, and the ticking of the hallway clock becomes a constant companion. Wise parents do not share this truth to make their children feel guilty or burdened by obligation. They share it because they want their children to slow down and cherish the present moment. They want them to understand that the busy workdays, the dirty dishes, the messy living rooms, and the chaotic schedules of youth are not obstacles to life. They are life itself. In American culture, independence is celebrated above almost everything else. We teach our young people to be strong, self-reliant, and eager to conquer the world on their own terms. While this spirit of independence is wonderful and necessary for building a successful life, it can sometimes create an unintended wall between generations. Wise parents beam with immense pride when they see their grown children standing on their own 2 feet, building careers, buying homes, and navigating the complexities of the world. Yet, deep down, every parent longs to know that they are still needed, even if only for a cup of coffee, a quick phone call to ask for advice on a household repair, or a quiet Sunday afternoon visit. The desire to be useful to one and oppos's children does not disappear just because those children have grown into adults. A father who spent 30 years working with his hands still wants to offer advice when his son buys a home, not to be overbearing, but because offering that guidance is his way of continuing to shield his child from harm. A mother who spent decades nurturing her family still wants to drop off a warm pot of soup when her daughter is sick, because that act of caring is woven into the very fabric of who she is. When adult children learn to accept these gestures with patience and gratitude, rather than pushing them away in the name of total independence, a beautiful bridge of connection is maintained across the generations. As the years advance, wise parents also begin to reflect deeply on the values they have passed down. In a world that often measures success by the size of a bank account, the prestige of a job title, or the luxury of a vehicle, parents who have lived a full life come to realize that none of these material things truly endure. When you reach the mature chapters of life, the things that bring genuine peace are not the trophies on the mantle or the numbers on a balance sheet. The real wealth of a lifetime is found in the strength of your character, the integrity of your actions, the kindness you extended to strangers, and the warmth of the relationships you cultivated along the way. They wish their children could see this truth earlier in life, so they might avoid the painful trap of chasing empty status at the expense of their peace, their health, and their families. They hope their children will understand that a modest life filled with love, laughter, shared meals, and honest work is far richer than a life of grand worldly success that leaves the heart empty and isolated. This wisdom is not gained easily. It is forged through the fires of experience, disappointment, loss, and ultimate reflection. The silence that sometimes grows between aging parents and adult children is rarely caused by a lack of love. More often, it is caused by the busyness of modern life and the mistaken belief that there will always be time later. Young adults are rightfully consumed with building their own futures, raising their own young children, and chasing their dreams. It is easy to assume that mom and dad will always be sitting in the living room, ready to answer the phone whenever a free moment arises. However, time is a gentle but relentless thief. The strong shoulders that once carried you high above the crowds at a summer parade begin to round with age. The clear, confident voices that guided you through childhood heartbreak begin to soften. The hands that were once so strong and sure begin to show the delicate lines of time. Wise parents watch these physical changes in themselves, aware that their time on this earth is moving toward its natural horizon. They do not fear this transition with bitterness, but they carry a quiet hope that their children will recognize the value of the present hour before it becomes a cherished memory. Reaching out does not require elaborate planning or grand gestures. A simple text message during a lunch break, a 5-minute phone call from the car on the way home, or a brief visit just to sit on the porch and watch the sunset together carries more weight than any expensive gift ever could. These small moments of connection are the threads that weave a family history together, creating a tapestry of love that endures long after the physical presence of a parent has passed away. As we close this first part of our reflection, take a quiet moment to think about the unspoken stories living within your own family. Think about the quiet sacrifices made on your behalf that you may have taken for granted when you were too young to understand their cost. Remember that beneath every gray hair, every gentle wrinkle, and every quiet observation of an aging parent lies a heart that has loved you fiercely from the very first breath you took in this world. Every family leaves behind a quiet history that rarely finds its way into photo albums or dinner conversations. When we look back on childhood, our memories are often filled with bright scenes of holiday gatherings, summer road trips, backyard barbecues, and birthday celebrations. Yet behind every joyful moment in a child and Apos' life sits a complex foundation of parental effort, sacrifice, and quiet perseverance that remains almost entirely invisible to a child and Apos' eyes. Wise parents do not bring up these hidden burdens to demand praise or invoke guilt. Instead, they hope that one day, as their children navigate the heavy responsibilities of their own adult lives, they will look back with a deeper understanding of what it truly means to care for a family. One of the greatest silent burdens carried by parents is the weight of financial stability. In a world full of economic changes, job stresses, and unexpected turns of fate, keeping a roof overhead and food on the table requires constant vigilance. Long before a child ever understands the concept of a mortgage, insurance premiums, or utility bills, parents spend years balancing those subtle pressures in the background. They learn the delicate art of making sacrifices without making those sacrifices obvious. They willingly wear the same worn coat for several winters so their children can have new clothes for the school year. They quietly skip a personal treat or put away their own small dreams so there is enough money saved for guitar lessons, summer camps, or college tuition. To a young child, money seems to appear naturally whenever it is needed. They do not see the difficult conversations held late at night after the lights are turned off, when parents sit at the kitchen table worrying about an unexpected car repair or a sudden medical bill. They do not know the gut-wrenching feeling a mother or father experiences when they have to say no to a simple request, wishing with all their heart that they could say yes. Wise parents carry these worries quietly because they believe a child and Apos' primary job should be growing up with a sense of safety, free from the heavy anxieties of the adult world. Protecting a child's peace of mind often means absorbing those anxieties into one and Apos' own heart. Beyond the material sacrifices, there is an emotional cost to protection that is rarely discussed. As a parent, watching your child step out into the broader world means watching them face disappointment, rejection, and heartbreak. From the first time a child is left out of a playground game to the first deep grief of a broken romance or a failed career effort, a parent's heart breaks alongside their child and Apos'. The natural impulse of every mother and father is to step in, fix the problem, and shield their son or daughter from every sharp edge of life. Yet, true parental wisdom lies in knowing when to step back and allow a child to experience hardship. Wise parents understand that resilience is not built in smooth, comfortable waters. It is forged through navigating life and Apos' inevitable storms. Standing on the sidelines, holding your tongue, and watching your child struggle through a difficult lesson while resisting the urge to rescue them is one of the most painful duties a parent will ever perform. It requires a quiet kind of courage to let a child fall, knowing that the bruised knee or broken spirit will eventually heal into strength, character, and self-reliance. As children transition into adulthood, another subtle shift occurs in the dynamic of protection. Parents who spent decades acting as guardians, decision-makers, and problem-solvers must learn to step into the role of supportive observers. This shift is far more difficult than many adult children realize. For 20 or 30 years, a parent and Apos' primary focus was actively guiding their child and Apos' path. Letting go of that daily control does not mean the caring vanishes. It simply means the expression of that care must change. When an aging parent offers unsolicited advice or asks detailed questions about your career, your marriage, or your personal choices, it is easy for an adult child to feel judged, micromanaged, or questioned. But from the perspective of an older parent, those questions do not come from a desire to control or criticize. They stem from a lifelong habit of vigilance, an enduring instinct to make sure that the person they love most in the world is safe, happy, and secure. Understanding that well-intentioned advice is often just love dressed up in awkward language can transform a moment of frustration into a moment of connection. There is also a profound vulnerability in aging that parents rarely speak about openly with their adult children. As the body slows down, as energy levels drop, and as the world moves faster with new technologies and cultural shifts, older adults often feel a quiet sense of displacement. The individuals who were once the foundation of the family, the ones who had every answer and fixed every problem, gradually find themselves needing assistance with tasks that used to be second nature. For a proud mother or father who spent a lifetime taking care of others, asking for help can feel like a heavy blow to their dignity. They worry about becoming a burden to their children, who are already overwhelmed with their own demanding careers and young families. Because of this fear, many elderly parents will suffer in silence, downplaying physical pain, hiding financial struggles, or pretending they do not mind spending long, quiet weeks in solitude. Wise parents wish their children could see past the stoic smiles and recognize that accepting help is not a sign of failure, but a natural part of the human life cycle. In American culture, where self-reliance is prized above all else, admitting that we need one another can be challenging for both young and old. Yet the most enduring families are those where care flows freely in both directions without scorekeeping or resentment. When an adult child takes the initiative to check in, offer a hand with heavy chores, or simply sit down for an unhurried chat without waiting to be asked, it relieves a deep, quiet burden from an aging parent and oppos's shoulders. It reassures them that the love and care they poured out for decades has returned to them as a warm, protective harbor in the autumn of their lives. As we look deeper into these unspoken dynamics, we begin to see that the relationship between a parent and a child is a continuous journey of learning, forgiving, and growing together. None of us receive a perfect upbringing, and no parent delivers a flawless performance. But when we look past the inevitable mistakes and choose to see the heart behind the effort, we open the door to a profound kind of peace. As life moves forward and the frantic energy of youth begins to settle, a person's perspective on what truly matters undergoes a quiet revolution. In the early and middle chapters of adulthood, society teaches us to measure our worth by external markers. We chase higher salaries, bigger houses, newer cars, and impressive job titles. We spend our best years climbing ladders, striving for recognition, and trying to build a life that looks impressive from the outside. But as the years accumulate and a parent reaches the reflective autumn of life, the illusion of these worldly pursuits begins to fade, revealing what has been true all along. The third great truth that wise parents long to pass down to their adult children is a radical redefinition of success. When an older parent sits on the front porch in the calm of the evening, looking back over 60, 70, or 80 years of living, they do not find comfort in the memory of long hours spent at the office, nor do they draw peace from the bank statements archived in a drawer. What brings genuine warmth to an aging heart is the memory of shared meals, the sound of belly laughter filling a home, the quiet moments of comfort offered during tough times, and the enduring strength of family bonds. Wise parents watch with a mixture of pride and quiet concern as their grown children throw themselves into the relentless hustle of modern life. They see their children exhausted, stressed, and constantly checking their phones, rushing from one obligation to the next with hardly a moment to catch their breath. They wish they could pull their children aside, hold their hands, and offer a gentle warning about the trap of endless striving. They want to tell them that no one ever reaches the end of their life and wishes they had spent more time answering work emails or accumulating material possessions. Success, in the eyes of a wise parent, is not about how much you acquire, but about who you become and how deeply you love. It is found in building a home where kindness is practiced daily, where honesty is valued above convenience, and where forgiving one another is a habit rather than an exception. A child who leads a simple, modest life anchored by integrity, good health, strong morals, and loving relationships is, in the eyes of a wise parent, an overwhelming success. They wish their children could release the heavy burden of trying to impress a world that quickly forgets, and instead focus on nourishing the small circle of people who truly matter. This realization leads directly to another heavy topic that lives in the hearts of many families: the necessity of forgiveness. No family history is entirely smooth. Because human beings are imperfect, every home experiences moments of misunderstanding, harsh words spoken in anger, unmet expectations, and deep emotional wounds. Sometimes these scars linger for decades, creating silent rifts between parents and adult children that feel impossible to cross. What wise parents wish their children knew is that holding on to old grudges is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. As the years tick away, the time remaining to heal those wounds grows shorter with every passing season. Mature parents often carry a quiet, aching regret over mistakes they made when their children were young, moments when they lost their temper, choices driven by stress rather than wisdom, or times they were emotionally unavailable because they were fighting their own hidden battles. At the same time, many parents carry the quiet pain of feeling rejected or judged by their grown children, who may hold them to an impossible standard of perfection. Forgiveness is not about erasing the past or pretending that painful things never happened. Forgiveness is about choosing to release the weight of resentment so that both generations can walk forward in peace. It is the realization that everyone in the family tree was doing the best they could with the emotional tools they possessed at the time. When an adult child finds the grace to forgive an aging parent for their shortcomings, it releases a profound healing energy into the entire family line. It breaks cycles of pain that may have been passed down for generations. And when a parent humbly acknowledges their past mistakes, offering an honest apology without defense or excuse, it validates the child and Apos' experience and creates a foundation of genuine mutual respect. Life is simply too brief, and time far too precious, to spend precious years separated by stubborn pride or ancient misunderstandings. Another subtle truth that comes with age is the understanding that happiness is not a destination you reach somewhere down the road. It is a discipline you practice right now. Young people often live in the future, telling themselves, and quote, "I will be happy when I get that promotion," and quote, "I will relax when the kids are older," and quote, or end quote, "I will enjoy life when I finally retire," end quote. Wise parents have lived long enough to see that the future always arrives with its own set of new challenges and responsibilities. If you do not learn to find joy in the middle of a messy, ordinary, imperfect Tuesday, you will never find it at all. They wish their children could learn to savor the simple pleasures that are available every single day. A hot cup of coffee on a quiet morning, the changing colors of the autumn leaves, a walk through the neighborhood as the sun goes down, or an unexpected call from a good friend. These are the real treasures of human existence. When you cultivate an eye for these small blessings, life transforms from a stressful race into a rich, meaningful journey. As we look toward the remaining chapters of this journey, we begin to see that the ultimate gift a parent can give a child, and that a child can return to a parent, is the gift of full, unhurried presence. In a world full of distractions, giving someone your undivided attention, listening without interrupting, and simply being there together is the highest form of love. There is a quiet, unspoken threshold that every family crosses, usually without realizing it in the moment. It is the subtle point in time when the roles between parent and child begin to gently reverse. For decades, the parent was the sturdy oak tree, the provider of shade, shelter, and strength. They were the ones who held your hand while crossing busy streets, smoothed over life's rough edges, and offered a steady shoulder during every personal crisis. But as the seasons of life turn, the steady hand begins to tremble slightly, the quick step slows to a measured pace, and the one who used to give guidance now occasionally needs a hand to steady their stride. This transition is one of the most delicate and emotionally complex chapters in human life. What wise parents wish their children understood during this season is the intense struggle to maintain dignity amidst declining physical strength. Growing older in a fast-paced world that gloriously celebrates youth, productivity, and speed can make mature adults feel increasingly invisible. Simple everyday tasks that were once done without a second thought, driving at night, carrying heavy groceries, climbing a steep flight of stairs, or keeping up with new digital technology, can become sources of quiet frustration. When an aging parent insists on doing something themselves, even when it is clearly difficult, it is rarely out of stubbornness or spite. It is a quiet, deeply human effort to hold on to their independence for as long as possible. They do not want to see themselves solely as care recipients. They still carry the identity of the resilient man or woman who built a home, raised a family, and weathered life and Apos' fierce storms. When adult children offer assistance with patience, grace, and total respect for their parents and Apos' dignity, asking rather than ordering, assisting rather than taking over, it preserves that vital sense of self-worth. Another profound reality of the golden years is the quiet experience of loss that accumulates over time. As people age into their 70s, 80s, and beyond, their world naturally begins to shrink. They begin to bid farewell to lifelong friends, siblings, former coworkers, and neighbors who formed the social fabric of their youth. The address book fills with names that are now gentle memories. Each loss leaves a small, permanent quiet spot in their daily life, a reminder that the world they once knew intimately is gradually shifting into the past. During these years, an aging parent's heart hungers for human connection more than ever before, yet they often hesitate to reach out because they know how demanding modern life is for their grown children. They see their children juggling heavy work schedules, mortgage payments, and the endless activities of their own kids. They do not want to feel like another chore added to an already overwhelming to-do list. So, they sit quietly by the telephone, hoping for a ring, or wait by the window, hoping for a surprise turn in the driveway. Wise parents wish their children knew that a 30-minute visit spent sitting on the back patio, drinking iced tea, and listening to old family stories is worth more than any lavish present or expensive restaurant meal. Older adults do not need grand entertainment or fancy outings. They simply want to share space with the people they love. They want to hear about your day, your quiet wins, your minor worries, and the silly things your children said at breakfast. They want to know that despite the rapid pace of the modern world, the family foundation they spent a lifetime laying remains strong, warm, and welcoming. In these mature chapters of life, older parents also begin to think deeply about their legacy, not in terms of financial inheritances or real estate, but in terms of values, memories, and spiritual roots. They wonder if the lessons they tried so hard to live by will endure after they are gone. Did they teach their children enough about honesty, resilience, kindness, and faith? Will the family tradition of gathering on holidays survive? Will the grandchildren remember the quiet wisdom shared around the Sunday dinner table? The true passing of the torch occurs when adult children begin to intentionally weave those hard-earned family values into the fabric of their own homes. When a mother uses her own mother's old recipe while teaching her daughter how to bake, or when a father uses his own father and Apo's patient tone while helping his son navigate a hard failure, the legacy lives on. Knowing that one's life work, love, and core values will echo through future generations brings a profound, sacred peace to an aging parent and Apo's heart. It reassures them that their journey on this earth had deep meaning, purpose, and lasting value. As we move toward the final part of our reflection, we come to recognize that every moment we share with our parents today is a precious, non-renewable gift. The golden years offer us a rare and beautiful window to say the words that have gone unsaid, to listen to the stories we have never fully heard, and to wrap our arms around the people who loved us first, best, and most faithfully. As we reach the final chapter of this reflection on life, family, and the enduring bond between parents and children, we come to a quiet, sacred truth that touches every human heart. Life, in all its beauty, complexity, and wonder, is ultimately a journey of walking each other home. We enter this world fragile, dependent, and completely reliant on the loving arms of our parents to nurture, protect, and guide us through our earliest steps. And as the long arc of life completes its natural circle, we are given the profound privilege of offering that same steady, compassionate love back to those who gave us everything. Wise parents spend their entire lives preparing their children for the world. They teach you how to speak, how to walk, how to make good choices, how to stand up after falling down, and how to navigate the complex world on your own 2 feet. But the one thing no parent can truly prepare a child for is the day when the parent is no longer there to call, to visit, or to ask for advice. The quiet realization that our time together on this earth is limited is not meant to bring sadness or despair. Instead, it is meant to wake us up to the immense beauty of the present moment. What wise parents wish their children knew above all else in these final seasons of life is that love never dies. The physical presence of a person may fade, the voices we loved may become quiet memories, and the chairs where they once sat may remain empty, but the love, wisdom, and character they poured into your life remain permanently woven into the very fabric of who you are. Every time you show kindness to a stranger, every time you choose honesty over convenience, every time you comfort your own crying child late at night, your parents and Apo's legacy is alive, vibrant, and active in the world through you. There is an immense power in learning to live with no unspoken words. Too often in life, human beings wait for a milestone, an anniversary, a hospital room, or a funeral to say the things that truly matter. Wise parents do not want expensive monuments or elaborate tributes after they are gone. They want simple, heartfelt truth while they are still here to hear it. If there is love in your heart for your mother or father, say it today. If there is gratitude for sacrifices made 30 or 40 years ago that you only now fully understand as an adult, share it today. A simple message saying, and quote, "Mom, thank you for every meal you cooked and every quiet sacrifice you made for me," end quote, or end quote. "Dad, I appreciate the strong work ethic and character you taught me by example," end quote, can heal decades of quiet self-doubt in an aging parent and oppos's heart. It brings a profound comfort, letting them know that their life's hardest work was seen, valued, and remembered with deep love. For those whose parents have already passed on from this life, know that it is never too late to honor their memory and find peace. The forgiveness you extend to them in your heart today is real. The gratitude you feel while looking at an old black and white photograph is real. The promise you make to pass down their best qualities to the next generation is the highest form of honor you can ever bestow upon their name. You carry their story forward in every step you take. As we bring this journey to a close, let us remember that life is not measured by the material wealth we accumulate, the status we achieve, or the worldly honors we collect along the way. When all the noise of the modern world fades away, all that remains is how well we loved, how deeply we cared, and how faithfully we honored the sacred bonds of family. Take a moment today to pause, slow down, and reflect on the people who laid the foundation for your life. Call your parents if you can. Visit them if they are near. Share a cup of coffee. Ask them about their youth. Hold their hands, and listen to their old stories with a patient, loving heart. Cherish these golden hours while the sun is still shining, for these quiet moments together are the true riches of human life, a timeless treasure that will comfort your soul for all the days of your life.